So, can you talk about what is ancestral or transgenerational trauma and how is that kind of worked on in the constellations?
Yeah. So we are all systemic beings, Everything in our environment is a system. And not to go very far, our whole body is amalgamation of so many different systems, right? Even the family. So our biggest influence in our life is our family system because that's where we are born. And of course, we inherit the genetic makeup of our parents, who've inherited the genetic makeup of their parents and their parents and their parents, and so on and so forth. So, in that sense, we are actually our grandparents and our parents. So, when we talk about transgenerational trauma, what we are actually talking about is when I am born into a family system, I inherit the DNA of my family, of course, equal from my mom and my dad. And science is actually now discovering, and science always takes a little time to catch up, is what I've realized, that the DNA, of course, doesn't change. But on our genes, there is a chemical tag, which is called an epigenetic tag, which is what tells certain genes to switch on or off. And this chemical tag can be inherited from the previous generations. Of course, our own experiences also create these tags on our genes, which we pass on to the next generation. So, depending on their experiences, we are predisposed to certain behaviors. So, let's say that grandfather suffered a huge business loss. Okay, say his partner cheated him. Okay, and he had a real shock. He got bedridden, and then he never recovered from that. So there forms in the system a kind of a belief that you can be cheated, you can't trust your partners, especially because it had such an impact. So he lost his business. That impacts his son, for example, who might be there. So his son sees that we were doing so well. Now we have nothing. We've been cheated. Dad is, bedridden. He's undergone so much trauma. And that trauma is obviously experienced by the next generation as well. So, and then this trauma will be definitely passed on to the next generation after that. So, but in the next generation after that, that trauma could actually pass through the sperm cells, through the stem cells of the sperm. So that is why we say trauma skips a generation. So, the grandfather's trauma will have a bigger impact on the grandchild because the son is obviously going to be affected, emotionally disconnected, may have a lot of anger, towards the father, towards the partner, and it has impacted his life, his lifestyle. But the beliefs that he has will then pass on to his son or daughter, as the case may be. And then that child, whenever he wants to set up something of his own or get into a partnership, it may not work, or may always tend to have partners who cheat, or may tend to, feel a lot of panic and anxiety whenever they want to start their own business. Also, maybe the father tells them, listen, business is not great a thing to do, it's too much risk, you can get cheated, why don't you do a job? So even though a part of him may want to start a business, another part of him is firstly affected by what he's carrying epigenetically, that is nature, as well as the belief of the father saying that no, you can get cheated, things can go wrong, job is safer. So that is nurture. So, it's actually literally, I've given you a simple, straightforward example, but obviously it's not always so straightforward. So this is what I work with. If a client comes with an issue that every partner who comes in my life cheats me, or every time I do a business I suffer losses. So what is actually happening is that what is unresolved, the grandfather's trauma, it's unresolved. He got bedridden. Now obviously we just say, yeah, of course, that's bound to happen. but there was no resolution of that. That trauma remains in the system, and someone in the future generation will experience it or live their lives having those same feelings of loss, or experiencing that cheating or whatever, until we go back and heal that unresolved trauma which is stuck in the system. And that frees the energy to now move into a different kind of destiny.
Yeah, it's very profound. What I have read and understand is that the trauma can travel up to 7 generations down the line. And there have been experiments conducted on mice where they could actually prove that the trauma, like wars, especially very, very radical disasters, they get carried for 7 generations down the line. And it does very deeply impact an individual. So can you talk a little bit about mother wound and father wound? Because
Yeah.
they are the most, I think, that impact anybody's life.
Yeah, and I think they've become pretty, what should I say? It's become a phrase that people are now becoming very familiar with, and a lot of workshops are being conducted for healing the mother wound. And I guess there's more and more awareness that, well, there's a beautiful saying by Bert Hellinger that every success has the face of the mother. And because the mother's womb is our universe for the first 9 months, after conception, and everything that happens, whether the environment is friendly, unfriendly, cold, warm, right from there we start forming beliefs, subconscious beliefs, because of course it's pre-verbal, that stage. So we have these subconscious beliefs which later form beliefs, but they are sort of, I would say, energetic imprints, okay, about, are we welcome, are we not welcome, is the environment safe, is mother connected, disconnected, available, unavailable, nurturing, does she have enough support. So all of those things that the mother's experiencing, I think that we know from generations, it affects the child. Everything in the environment, everything that the mother experiences, the mother's emotional, mental, physical state, everything affects the child. So right from there, the journey of the mother and child, the symbiotic relationship starts, And if later, if the mother is, say, whatever happened in the womb, but then the child is very welcome, very loved, very supported, then of course some of that can get healed in that phase. But if in case the mother is emotionally unavailable because of so many reasons, right? Maybe she lost a child before, so she has fear. She might lose this child. So she doesn't connect emotionally because she's still in the fear, or she has an unsupportive environment, unsupportive partner, or there's a financial issue, or something in the mother's own experiences of childhood gets triggered when she gives birth to her child. Because that's what triggers us the most. When we have our children, at every age of that child, our own unresolved traumas get triggered. Okay, and that affects how we behave with the child. So those things, especially from the ages of, well, from the womb up till the age of 3, if there's separation, the child has to be put in an incubator, maybe there are surgeries, the mother's sick and separated. All of those things create beliefs in the child about self-worth, am I loved? The self-esteem of the child, am I welcome? Do I have a place in the system? If the child is one of many, cannot find their own place. All of this affects how the child behaves in the outside world. If I have low self-worth because I feel that mother doesn't love me, I'm a girl, she loves my brother more because boys are more valued, I will carry that into the world outside. And then I'm always looking for an environment where I can feel that love and that support. So I might look for partners who fulfill that void in me because I'm carrying this void. Even the jobs that I might take, I'm looking for, maybe my boss is like a mother figure where I'm expecting her to nurture me, her to hold hold me, to give me that space which I did not have. And then I might feel, oh, I don't like her. She's because I am actually projecting that same energy everywhere, you know. So healing this very early experiences is the first step in healing the mother wound. And then, of course, when that can change, that inner space can change where I'm now understand why I have this void. Where is it coming from? Of course, then that can shift how I look at my relationships with everything else in my environment, be it my work environment, being my social environment. So that is about the mother wound. Also, because the mother is our first giver. We receive life. We also receive nurturance. When mother, nurtures the child, she feeds the baby. So our ability to receive from the world also is affected by those first experiences. That's about the mother wound. The father, of course, comes a little later. Initially we are only dependent on our mother. The father is someone more connected to the outside world, prepares us more for, the difficulties in life, the rough and tumble of life, and more to do with we take the father's name. So our identity in the outside world, our place in the outside world, our ability to have boundaries within and without, all of that. That is more to do with the father. So if the mother and father don't get along, then the mother may give us an impression that your father is not good enough. And that can create a break in the bond with the father. Or if our own experiences, father's always traveling, he's busy with work, he's in a high stress environment at work. So he comes home always stressed, always irritable, always angry, and you don't have that connect. And you're like, oh my God, this man, kind of a thing. So that could also affect our ability to find our own place in the world, to feel supported by the male figures in our life, by authority figures in our life. Because father, of course, we look at as authority and mother as a nurturer, so that can affect how we connect to authority figures. So healing all of that can help us to make a better place for ourselves, to be more comfortable with our identity, to find our place in our work system or in other social systems. So that is affected by the father. That's a little bit about the mother wound.
Wow. Yeah, that's deep. And it does impact at a deep level, and it impacts all areas of life depending on what you kind of take, what wounds you take from your mother or father.